keep putting in the work every single day, every week, just keep plugging away at it because it's possible. Like whatever you want to create is possible. Just got to go do it. Find the right people around you, find the right tools, and never stop talking about what it is that you want to create. Woo! Yeah! What's up, nurses and nurse coaches? Welcome back to the Nurse Coach Collective's podcast, where this week we are celebrating Happy Nurses Month, y'all. Happy Nurses Month.
Yes, Happy Nurses Week, Happy Nurses Month. This is a big time for us nurses because finally we get to say, celebrate us, give us the love that we deserve. But, most times, depending on where you're working and what setting you're in, I would say most nurses generally get celebrated how? You get your little lunchbox or your pen.
Food in the break room.
Yeah, your pizza, your donuts. It's not much of a celebration. Actually,
what's the best Nurses Week gift you ever got?
Well, now that I've ragged on the lunch boxes, I did actually get a lunch bag that was probably I've had it for 7 years now.
I think we still got that lunch bag. It's a good lunch box.
To this day. But, you got to work with what you got, what you're given.
Yep.
How about you? Anything special?
A raise.
You got a raise.
It's like Nurses Month raise somewhere around there. Just happened to coincide with.
All right. Well, that's the good way to celebrate. I don't think many nurses can celebrate something like that.
It wasn't specifically for Nurses Month, but it was a raise.
But we can say that it was, and that's a good gift. Well, actually, we got to celebrate Nurses Week specifically and Nurses Month in a really, really cool way because we got to spend the last couple of weeks celebrating our graduates.
Yes.
The 300 plus nurse coaches who are just most recently entering out into the world, launching their new lives, their new practices, their new jobs as nurse coaches. And really, we took that intentional time to slow down and to get hyped up and to celebrate all of the amazing work that they've done.
Yeah, it's tons of fun. We love celebrating. Those are some of like the cooler moments when we get to be like, oh, wow, look at all of this work that you did over these past 7 months coming to fruition, coming to a sense of closing one chapter and like getting really stoked about the next. Yeah, I think that's what we are hopefully gifting to y'all today. So instead of getting the lunchbox or the pail, and I can't give you a raise, but what I can offer you.
Many nurse coaches are getting raises. So
many nurse coaches are getting raises in a roundabout way, perhaps. Yeah, we can. What we want to offer nurses today is really hope and inspiration and excitement about what's possible in the field of nurse coaching. And so that's really a gift that we want to offer today.
Yeah, and I think that was, for me, the greatest gift that I was given from being on those graduation calls with all of these amazing nurse coaches is the feeling that I walked away from every single one of those calls with, feeling hopeful, feeling inspired, feeling motivated for the future. And on our last episode, we talked about creativity, right? One of our last episodes, we talked about creativity and all of the different possibilities in nurse coaching. And it's one thing to talk about that, and it's another thing to really get to hear from all of these amazing nurse coaches the work that they are actually doing in the here and now before they've even graduated or right at that graduation finish line.
Yes.
So it was a gift to us, and now hopefully we can share it with you as a gift to you, to be that hope, to be that inspiration, and really true examples of all that's possible here.
So should we get into them?
We should get into them. Yes, let's do it. All right, so we took crazy amounts of notes on these final graduation calls because it's just like mind-blowing all of the stuff that these nurse coaches are doing. And my hand can't possibly keep up in terms of keeping track of everyone. But these are going to be a handful. It's a lot, but it's a small handful from these 300 plus nurse coaches who have now graduated. And as we go through these, know that we are celebrating every single one of you. And these stories that we're sharing are just smattering to demonstrate all that's possible.
Smattering.
Okay. Don't make fun of me. Okay, so Julia officially launched her practice before graduation, mind you, and she is going to focus on working with nurses who are burnt out. Raise your hand if that is you right now or has ever been you before. Come on, put that hand up.
Okay.
Awesome. And Heidi, she's already celebrating having 3 paying clients before she's even graduated. She is really, really close to retirement. And so she is super stoked to now have this entirely new way to practice and to serve and support her community as she leaves traditional nursing.
Yeah, so that's 3 paying clients before graduating from the program is fantastic.
That's awesome. And then we've got Lisa, who I've got to celebrate because she is turning 60 the day after graduation. So by now she has completed that birthday. Happy birthday, Lisa. To you. And she said, I finally found my purpose, right? Decades in nursing, and I am finally able to truly help people heal through coaching. And I wanted to share that sentiment because we hear it over and over and over again. So Lisa, amazing work and happy birthday wishes to you.
And that's the invitation to like not wait and to not wait to like get into this work, because another sentiment we discover is, I wish I had done this earlier. I wish I had done nurse coaching sooner. Okay, so we got Jen. She is working to create holistic wellness retreats that incorporate nurse coaching and sound healing.
Ooh, I love sound.
I know a number of nurse coaches who've used sound healing, and we know a lot who have been really successful in creating retreats. Retreats are just a ton of fun, and they're a really fun thing to be able to pull off as nurse coaches. Susan is combining nurse coaching with forest bathing. So many benefits there. Right up my alley, personally.
Yes.
And Melissa is leaning into a vision of leveraging the power of silence through intentional group time in nature and silent hikes that allow connection to the outdoors and time to go inward.
Very cool.
And Sarah, she's hosting a retreat focused on yoga, breathwork, nurse coaching, and mindfulness.
Yeah, that is something that so many of these nurse coaches touched upon. It was like being able to use nurse coaching finally as this umbrella almost to bring in all of their other passions or interests or healing modalities, like you mentioned, to have these really holistic retreats, workshops, practices, you name it.
It helps both the nurse coach to make sense of it all. Because that's like a thing that is really challenging, is like, how do I make sense of all these past experiences and all this past knowledge that I have? And nurse coaching allows us to like put it under one accessible umbrella that we can then also deliver to clients, and they're like, they get it.
Yes.
It makes sense to them. It's like a understandable way to relate to this avenue of healing.
And it's no longer so completely disjointed and siloed, like you go here for this modality and here for that modality, but you can really kind of bring it all under one roof and have them intertwine and play nicely together. All right, next up, we've got Vanessa, who is integrating nurse coaching with bereavement coaching. I love the creativity of all of the different communities, populations, challenges that you get to support people with through nurse coaching. And then we've got Terry, who's bringing group coaching to women that are working through trauma. And she has these awesome, awesome ideas to work with women who are incarcerated and to help them become empowered as they create these new identities for themselves.
Cool.
And we've got April, who is pairing her background in Reiki and energy healing with nurse coaching so that she can serve a population of folks who have PTSD. I'm just blown away by this. I'm blown away by the vastness of all of these different areas and how applicable it is in all of these different settings and with all these different people.
Yes, and it's really important to work with who you're drawn to work with. Or else you get tired, you maybe aren't super stoked on working with that population, so it's just not as much fun for you, so you're not going to be as invested in the work. But if you are invested in the work, like if you are called to work with people overcoming grief or PTSD or trauma, like then you're that much more engaged in the work. And very often what we find is if you're looking for who it is that you want to serve, start by looking in the mirror, like defining who it is that you are. What are problems that you've experienced? What are things that you had to overcome that you wish somebody else was there and could have helped you with? Because that's like a really great place to start.
Exactly. And that doesn't necessarily mean what you are currently struggling with or the challenge you're working through in this moment. It can be, but it can also be reflecting back on your life and like, when is that moment in life when I had this experience or I went through this challenge that I would have loved to have support around? And that's your proof, right? That's how you know that there are going to be other people out there who would love to have your support as a nurse coach as you work through that.
Because where there are one, there are many.
There are many.
So now let's talk about in more traditional healthcare roles. So like inside of perhaps hospitals and organizations. So we have Meg, who is leveraging nurse coaching to create more caring cultures amongst her OR staff. I love this. We've seen this over and over again, how one nurse coach can just transform an entire workplace culture at the unit level and then at the organizational level. It's freaking awesome. Lisa launched a proposal to a hospital for a program specifically designed to decrease anxiety and fear in the pre-operative phase. So helping patients to experience less anxiety and less fear in the pre-operative phase. And she's planning to bring this to the bariatric department as well.
So cool.
We have Abs. Abs plans to work with new grad nurses to help them feel supported as they get started. And her goal is to be hired on a consultation basis by different hospitals.
Nice.
What's the new stat? It's something crazy. Like, it's an absurd amount of nurses leaving the profession after 1 or 2 years in the field.
I have it right at the tip of my tongue, but I'm not about to drop a stat that I ain't
I'm not
sure
about
of.
to drop a stat that I'm not exactly sure of. I wish I had the guy in the corner being like, look up that stat for me. But it's a really, really high number. So when we consider something like this, not only does it increase like the support for those new grad nurses, but it also like improves retention. So there's a real good reason for employers to be bringing on nurse coaches in this field. And we have Autumn, who combines nurse coaching with diabetes education for small town communities where diabetes is really high, and the hospital only currently has one person to support them.
That's not enough people to support them. You got your work cut out for you, Autumn.
Sure do. And then we got Andrea, who's super excited to be able to bring this back to the bedside. And what I love about that is very often that's where nurse coaches start. So they start by just taking this, that's where I started, right? Just by taking nurse coaching and putting it into practice at the bedside, because what it will do is it just increases your fulfillment and experience of connectedness to your patients at the bedside. So start there and really just allow yourself to blossom as a healer inside that role. It's going to allow you to just do a complete 180 and to really get back to the core of why you love nursing in the first place.
And do that even if you think that you don't want to, right? Even if you think that that's not your goal, right? For me, when I was becoming a nurse coach, I had every intention of getting out of the ICU as quickly as possible. I never thought that I could or would bring nurse coaching back to my role at the bedside, but I did it because that's where I was. So we start where we are. And I was mind blown by the experience, different relationships with my colleagues, with my managers, with my entire team, with my patients, with the families that I served. So I think we often see nurse coaches who are surprised by how much they love bringing this work back to the bedside. And another thing just from that group of people that you shared that I think is worth noticing is like, let's come back to this term nurse coach. And a lot of people who have never heard of the term nurse coach is like, well, so do you coach just nurses, or are you a nurse coach for anyone? And I hope that these stories are now starting to demonstrate, yes, we have a lot of nurses who choose to focus, nurse coaches who choose to focus on working with other nurses, because we nurses need support in so many different areas, right? Whether it's building a better culture or being in that new grad moment or anywhere else in our trajectory. But of course, it's not limited to just being nurse coaches for nurses. We can work with all of these different kinds of populations. Cool. All right, so let's get back to it. Jessica is starting a debriefing program in her department for trauma, for stress, for burnout. And on our graduation call, she celebrated that she was bold, she was brave, she made a proposal to her manager, and her manager already approved that program and was like, all right, let's get this up and running and get started on Monday.
Critical, y'all. Just go talk about it. Just go talk about what you're doing. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. It doesn't have to be 100% together yet. Go talk about it with your manager, with your CNO. We've seen this be successful over and over again. Congrats, Jessica.
So many times. All right, Nathan, he is interviewing with New York Public Schools to leverage nurse coaching as he works alongside counselors with kids around social issues and mental health.
Yeah, Nathan has loved working with peds like his whole career. That's been his thing. So those are his people. So now he's like wanting to continue down that path because that's his vibe. That's where he gets the most fulfillment. So that's awesome. Congrats, Nathan.
Support our children while they are young so they grow up to be in a better spot than most of us are today. All right, Tracy is now the director of a startup detox program for second chance nurses who are facing addiction. And she really enjoys getting to bring nurse coaching into her work every single day in supporting these nurses. We've got Stacy, who's gearing up for her interview with a holistic practice focused on lifestyle medicine. So this is actually a really cool practice. They have a cardiologist, a dentist, a nurse practitioner. They've got pelvic floor therapy, orthopedic. I mean, they've got everything, but they don't have a nurse coach yet. So here's where you come in, Stacy. I don't know if you've had that interview or not yet, but if not, best of luck to you and keep us posted. That's going to be awesome.
Hell yeah. And keep being fearless. I love this. Okay, so we got Diane. She's stepping into private practice to focus on dealing with chronic dieting culture and using nurse coaching for holistic mindset and behavioral change, which is where nurse coaching really, really shines. Moving beyond diet and creating a lifestyle. So from like unsustainable fads to really a sustainable lifestyle. Noelle is a nurse practitioner and she's super excited to be getting out of a big corporate hospital, and she's dreaming up some ideas for working with adoptive and foster kids aged out of the foster system, integrating coaching for a smoother transition there. Wendy plans to focus on working with veterans and to help them get off of their meds. And Victoria is leveraging her peds nursing background to work with adolescents to focus on health and to help them regain healthy relationships with social media. And this is where it all starts, with ideas. It starts with ideas and a desire to serve and support a population, and then you just go freaking do it. You just go do it. Like
exactly.
That's where the success
and
is.
You say it like that, and I'm sure there's a lot of people listening and thinking like, yeah, Peter, it's just as easy as that. But in a lot of ways, it's just as easy as that, right? Create the idea, create it in your mind first, dream on it, ideate it, speak it into existence, say it out loud, which is what we get to do on these graduation calls, and then go get after it.
Then get out of your head and start doing it.
All these nurse coaches are now out there doing. All right, so we've got Maisel. Her goal is to work at domestic abuse shelters where she's going to work with women. And she also has this vision of working with Hispanic population where she will focus on providing nurse coaching for the elderly in a way that's inclusive of communities and groups. And I love this because she really tapped into that cultural component, and she has that experience of supporting Hispanic communities and identified the problem is you help one person, but unless you're involving the community or lifting the community, it doesn't really work in a lasting, sustainable way. So some awesome ideas for some group work there. Patricia is working towards building a bilingual community center where people are all going to be supporting each other. So not just her sitting in the expert model of being the nurse coach for people, but teaching all of the community members some of these skill sets, some of this art of coaching so that they can coach one another. I think that is such a fascinating and cool approach to take here, Patricia. And then we've got Tracy, who is integrating nurse coaching into her teaching role with the military. And eventually, she's also planning to start her private practice to serve that military population.
Remember, these are new grads.
New grads.
So they are fresh outs, right? And, what you're doing now as a new graduate is like exactly where you're supposed to be. So we got Melissa, who's combining nurse coaching with a functional medicine practice. There's so much synergy there. We found nurse coaches have a lot of success in that realm. Heidi is building a wellness room and a Zen den in the hospice unit. So a wellness room, a Zen den, is like a place to go and to be silent and to rest and rejuvenate. And these have been really, really successful in many, many different organizations. And she also made a proposal to bring a coaching program to the ER department of 400 staff. It's the second busiest ER in California. So for new grads and to catch traumatic events. So as I said, it's so important. Like one nurse coach can completely shift a culture and a dynamic inside of a workplace. And when you're talking about the second busiest ER in California, I guarantee that there will be great success inside of here. Bryce is a nurse coach at a hospital with another graduate from a previous collective. Already doing it, man. That's what's up, Bryce.
Paving the way.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think that's really great. Shout out to I don't know who the nurse coach is from the previous collective, but shout out to you, and I'm stoked that you guys get to work together now. That's a ton of fun. And Lana, it has a private practice to have more freedom for her family and schedule, more freedom to be with her family, more freedom in her scheduling.
Jennifer, hired as a nurse health coach for a tugboat company that has 70 employees. She says, I ride the boats, I coach them, I cook with them, teaching these Texan rough and tumble guys to love whole food, plant-based cooking and enjoy getting healthy. I love
laughing because it's so awesome.
Stories like these, and I'm smiling because I can like hear Jennifer's voice and see her face as she was telling me this story of like almost this like, what's going on? How did I get this role? How did I find myself in this community and with this population, working with these people who, had you asked me 6 months ago, I would have said, these are not individuals who are open to nurse coaching. They're not interested in getting healthy. And now she's like right there down in the trenches on those tugboats with them, teaching it, and she's loving it and they're loving it, which is the win-win of all of this work, right?
And talk about like only being limited by your creativity. Like a tugboat company.
Yep.
That's awesome.
That's really, really cool.
That's really, really tight.
All right, we've got Chandra, who paired also with another nurse coach who's already established at her very hospital. And together, they are creating a program at work to support their colleagues.
So these are nurse coaches practicing inside of a hospital as employees to support staff.
That's right.
Yeah, let's go.
And last one we're going to share, we've got Janie, who partnered with an ACLM doc, and she wants...
So that's a lifestyle medicine doctor.
American College of Lifestyle Medicine. Yes, thank you. And she wants her message to the world to be that you are never too old to follow your dreams and do amazing work as a nurse coach. She literally laughed as she was telling the story. And she was like, when I first came into the program, I remember, being nervous getting onto my first video call because I thought everybody was going to look at me and be like, what's grandma doing here? Of course, nobody looked at her that way and everybody welcomed her and loved her. We work with nurses from all across the lifespan, every age, you name it, we've had that nurse in our community. And the really amazing thing is that despite any fears or doubts or limiting beliefs about her age that she may have had when she entered into this course 7 months ago, graduation day, she is celebrating already having a private practice launched and 6 paying clients.
Stop.
Yeah.
Yo, Jamie, what's up? That's freaking awesome. Yeah, and that's really interesting because I think it doesn't matter like your age or experience coming in. Everybody comes in with literally those fears. So like, oh, I haven't been a nurse long enough, or I don't have enough time, or I've been away from the bedside for a minute, or I've been in the bedside for too long, or
we can make up
whatever it is. You can make up literally any story
yes,
as to why you're not going to be good enough in this role. And here she is crushing it. 6 private clients.
Paying her
Before
money,
graduation.
saying yes, proving to her. I mean, and what a demonstration of how powerful she is as a coach and how powerful the work that she's doing and was trained to do through going through this program that people are already lined up saying, yep, I'm ready to do this. Let me pay you. I want a nurse coach.
Hell yeah. So congrats to 300 graduates of the Transformative Nurse Coach Program. What's up, nurse coaches? Y'all, celebrating you so much. And, to all of our nurses and nurse coaches, happy Nurses Month. I hope you do something to celebrate yourself. And I really hope that this gave you a different level of inspiration and hope and optimism for what's possible, not only inside of your own practice, but, nursing as a whole, because over and over we say, this is how the thing changes. This is how the system changes, is by us going out there and doing cool things that like inspire us and lift us up. And what we just heard here is a snippet of 30 plus people, so 1/10 of the graduates. And so y'all like
think about that.
Come back. We're going to be hitting you up in a year to interview you, see where you're at.
Exactly.
So keep putting in the work every single day, every week. Just keep plugging away at it because it's possible. Like whatever you want to create is possible. Just got to go do it. Find the right people around you, find the right tools, and never stop talking about what it is that you want to create.
And I will say for Peter and myself, really from just the bottom of our hearts, when we stop and we slow down and we think about what these stories that we share really represent, for us, just knowing that you all are out there doing this most incredible work, it is so inspiring and it gives me so much hope for what is possible in nursing, what's possible in nurse coaching, and really what we are all doing together to transform the face of healthcare, right? We say it all the time, but this is it. This is how it's done. So to every single nurse coach and nurse out there working in any and every setting, thank you. Thank you for all that you do. We see you, we appreciate you, and I hope you are doing something to celebrate yourself. Have an incredible Nurses Month. We'll see you next time.